Hello, we were doing complete course for EPFO 2025 and we have already completed 11 chapters accounting principles में. Accounting principles is one of the core subject जो कि EPFO में है and बाकी जो subjects हैं ऐसे auditing, insurance, social security, labor laws and so on, we'll do that as well. अभी हमने already 11 chapters कर लिए हैं accounting principles के. So let's start with the 12th, provisions and reserves. So definition, provision. A provision is an amount recognized or charged in the profit and loss account to meet a known liability. The amount of which is uncertain but is expected to arise. It is created before determining net profit, that is, it reduces profit. Reserve. A reserve is an appropriation of retained earning, that is, your profit set aside for a specific or general purpose. It is created after determining profit, that is, it is distribution or retention of profit, and appears in the equity section of the balance sheet. कहाँ पे represent किया जाता है? Equity section of the balance sheet. Reserve. Then objectives and purpose. So provision to recognize potential expected losses. Prudence to represent true and fair financial position. Liability is not understated. To match probable charges with the period in which revenue is earned. Reserve to strengthen the financial position. Solvency to provide for future contingencies, expansion, redemption of debts, buybacks, etc. To smooth dividends over years, retaining earning for growth. Then key differences between your provision and reserve. So nature provision के केस में and reserve के केस में. And this is aspect. Let's talk about nature. Charge against profit, expense, appropriation of profit. Timing created before net profit is determined, created after net profit is determined. So reserve after net profit is determined. And provision P आ रहा है मतलब pre, ठीक है. तो pre से मतलब before net profit is determined. Purpose to cover estimated liabilities or losses. Known purpose for strengthening capital or specific future use. Shown in financial statement, current liabilities, provisions for deduction from asset in some cases, reserves and surplus, equity side. Used to pay dividends? No. And यहाँ पे yes. Then example, provision for doubtful debts and general reserve, capital reserve. Types and examples, provision. So provision for doubtful debts, bad debts provision to meet collectible receivables. Provision for discount on debtors, expected discount to be allowed to customers. Provision for taxation, estimated income tax liability. Provision for warranty repairs, expected warranty claims. Provision for depreciation, sometimes shown as provision accumulated depreciation. Then reserve, general reserve, no specified use, specific reserve, revenue reserve. Example, debenture redemption reserve, workman compensation reserve. Capital reserve created from capital gains, for example, profit on sale of fixed assets, premium on issues of shares, then generally not available for distribution as dividends. Secret reserves, not disclosed, created by undervaluing assets or overstating liabilities, not recommended for transparent financial reporting. Statutory reserve, required by law, example banking sector obligations. Then accounting treatment, journal entries and example. So we'll take few examples here. Even if ये topic ज़्यादा clear नहीं होता, still don't worry. We'll see questions end में. Conduct will be same as before. We'll take theory and then we'll see PYQs जो previous year questions आए हैं इस chapter से. We'll do that and after that we'll move to expected questions जो है, that is your flashcard and you can use the same for revision. So let's come back to our point 5. So journal entries and examples. Creation of provision. So provision for doubtful debts. Example, suppose sundry debtors 1 lakh, management decides to create provision of 5% on debtors to provision 5,000. So general entry, profit and loss account में debit 5,000 to provision for doubtful debts account, credit 5,000, being provision created for doubtful debts. तो डेबिट कहाँ से, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट, क्रेडिट कहाँ पे, प्रोविजन फॉर डाउटफुल डेट अकाउंट. देन बैलेंस शीट प्रेजेंटेशन, डेट डेब्टर्स 1 लाख लेस प्रोविजन फॉर डाउटफुल डेट्स 5,000 to net debtors 95,000. So when a specific debt of 2,000 is written off against provision for doubtful debts account, debit 2,000 to debtors account, credit 2,000. If bad debt exceeds provision, suppose actual bad debt 7,000 and provision earlier 5,000, excess 2,000 is charged to profit and loss account. तो excess जो 2,000 है वो कहाँ पे होगा? Profit and loss account. So now bad debts account debit 7,000. ठीक है, to debtors account credit 7,000. Provision for doubtful debt account debit 5,000. To profit and loss account credit 5,000. Then provision for discount on debtors. If provision for discount on debtors is 2% on sundry debtors, 50,000 to provision is 1,000. So general profit and loss account debit 1,000 to provision for discount on debtors account. ठीक है, provision for discount on debtors account credit 1,000. Then usage when discount is allowed, provision for discount on debtors account 200 to discount allowed account credit 200. Okay, then creation of a reserve after profit. If net profit after tax 2 lakh and firms decides to transfer 50,000 to general reserve, the journal profit and loss account appropriation account debit 50,000 and credit 50,000 कहाँ पे? To general reserve account. Presentation. General reserve appears under equity reserve and surplus on liabilities sides of balance sheet. Then using reserves, if company uses general reserve to write off capital loss or pay dividends. So general reserve account debit जो भी XYZ amount होगा and to profit and loss account credit or to dividend account. ये किस केस में है? If company uses general reserve to write off a capital loss or pay dividends. ठीक है, तो profit and loss account में credit या फिर dividend account. Then presentation and financial statement. So provision typically shown under current liabilities and provisions or as a deduction from related assets. Example, provision for doubtful debts deducted from debtors depending on nature and accounting policy. Reserve shown under shareholders funds, equity as part of reserve and surplus. Capital reserves and revenue reserves are usually shown separately or disclosed in notes. Then disclosure, accounting standards and companies law require disclosure of accounting policies for provision and reserve movements, creation, utilization or write-backs in notes to account. Now this PDF as well as the other PDFs related to this exam as well as the other exams and important exam notifications, everything you will find on the Telegram. The name is EDUAASTRA. Here you will find all the PDFs and other related materials. साथ ही करंट अफेयर्स जो रेगुलरली चलता रहता है उसका मटेरियल भी यू विल फाइंड ऑन द टेलीग्राम. In case you need resource for any other exam, you want to ask something, then you can comment and I'll provide you with the same. Then accounting rules, principles applied, prudence, conservatism, create provisions for probable losses. हमने ये सब किया है, conservatism etc. in the previous chapter, so you can go and watch those chapters. At the same time 2 videos are there जिसमें हमने बात की है बहुत डिटेल में क्या क्या टॉपिक्स हैं, उनसे कितना कितना परसेंटेज ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आता है, कट ऑफ कितना कितना रहेगा, कौन से टॉपिक पे मोर एम्फेसिस शुड बी गिवन. सो फ्रॉम विच एवर सोर्स यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग, गो एंड वॉच दोज वीडियोज़ and it will be really beneficial for you. Then matching principle, recognize provision in same period as related revenue. Materiality, small immaterial items may be ignored. Consistency, same policy year to year unless justified. Disclosure, nature and movement of provision reserves must be disclosed. Then reversal and write-backs. If circumstances change, example debtor recovers part of the debt, प्रोविजन में भी रिवर्स्ड या रिटर्न बैक. ऐसे आपने एक और वर्ड सुना होगा, रोल बैक. ठीक है, पीपल हु हैव कंप्यूटर साइंस का बैकग्राउंड उनको पता होगा, वरना वैसे भी इन जनरल आप जब एटीएम पे करते हैं ट्रांजैक्शन या कहीं पे ट्रांजैक्शन करते हैं एंड वो इनकम्प्लीट रह जाता है तो तब रोल बैक होता है, दैट इज़ रिटर्न बैक. फिर से वापस आ जाएगा तो आपको आता भी होगा, मैसेज आएगा, ठीक है, रिवर्स हो जाता है उस चीज़ का. सो दैट इज़ व्हाट राइट बैक इज़. Tell me what is the full form of ATM. Again important, in sometime exam में आ जाता है तो ATM का full form is also important. At the same time, talking about current affairs, UPI Unified Payment Interface is now very very important. कई सारी countries में recently allow कर दिया गया है, ठीक है, multiple countries are there जहाँ पे UPI is working. So all of those countries are very very important. So you'll find the PDF on the Telegram. You can have a look or we'll discuss here as well before the exam. if provision for doubtful debts was 5,000 and later on 3,000 required. So provision for doubtful debts account debit 2,000, profit and loss account में credit 2,000. Being provision written back. So write backs increase current period profit should be disclosed. Statutory sector specific provisions and reserve. Taxation provision. Income tax provision based on taxable profit, actual payment adjusted later. Statutory reserve. Banks, insurance companies have specific statutory reserve requirement. So debenture redemption reserve for companies issuing debentures, statutory in some regimes. Then some examples: provision creation and write-off. Sundry debtors on 31st of March 2025, 2 lakh. Provision for doubtful debts at 31/3/2024, 6,000. During year, bad debts written off 10,000. Management decides to create provision at 3% of debtors at year end. So new provision 3% of 2 lakh, that is 6,000. कैसे 1% कितना होगा, ये हटा दिया, यहाँ मेरे पास बचा 1%. 1% is 2,000, तो 3% would be 1% का into 3, so that is your 6,000. Existing provision 6,000, bad debts 10,000 already written off. Reduce debtors if provision was used earlier, adjust accordingly. Then journal if bad debts already written off to profit and loss. So if provision balance was earlier and used when written off, entries vary. Then provision for discount and usage, debtors 50,000, provision for discount on debtors at 2% required. Provision existing 400, create additional provision require 1,000 existing, उसमें से minus करेंगे, so that would be 600. General profit and loss account 600, to provision for discount on debtors account, credit 600. When discount allowed 300, provision for discount on debtors account debit 300, to discount allowed account credit 300. Now some PYQs or the kind of questions that can come. So which of the following is a provision? Provision for doubtful debts. So if you have watched the previous chapters, you must be aware that हमने बहुत बात की थी कि जो डेफिनेशन वाले क्वेश्चन होते हैं डायरेक्टली आते हैं. आपसे डेफिनेशन पूछ लिया ट्रायल बैलेंस का, बैलेंस शीट का, ठीक है, गोल्डन स्टेटमेंट जो हमने पढ़ा था संदीप भैया वाला, एसेट्स इज इक्वल टू लाइबिलिटी प्लस कैपिटल, तो ये क्वेश्चंस ऑलरेडी आए हुए हैं, ठीक है. सो सच क्वेश्चंस आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. देन डिफरेंस वाले क्वेश्चन, डिस्टिंग्विश प्रोविजन वर्सेस रिजर्व, उनका फिर हमने एस्पेक्ट्स देखा था, नेचर, टाइमिंग एंड सो ऑन. देन वेयर टू शो प्रोविजन इन बैलेंस शीट, रिप्रेजेंटेशन वाले, पर्टिकुलर्स वाले क्या फॉर्मेट होता है, ऑल ऑफ दैट. देन जनरल एंट्री क्वेश्चंस, सो चांसेस आर लेस बट स्टिल आ सकते हैं, ईजी होते हैं, दैट्स वाई वी हैव टेकन कि आपको रफ आइडिया हो तो विल बी एबल टू गेस द करेक्ट आंसर. प्रूडेंस कॉन्सेप्ट लिंक, वाई क्रिएट प्रोविजन, कंजर्वेटिज्म, इफेक्ट ऑफ प्रोविजन रिवर्सल ऑन प्रॉफिट, ये हमने देखा था. देन प्रोविजन फॉर डाउटफुल डेट इज, दिस इज अगेन प्रीवियस ईयर का क्वेश्चन, एप्रोप्रिएशन ऑफ प्रॉफिट, चार्ज अगेंस्ट प्रॉफिट शोन अंडर कैपिटल या नन. सो आंसर इज चार्ज अगेंस्ट प्रॉफिट. Provision for doubtful debt is charged against profit. Then few more questions. Is provision an expense or appropriation? Expense, charge against profit. Can reserve be used to pay dividends? Yes. Revenue reserve subject to law and policy. Where is provision for taxation shown? Current liabilities or provisions until paid. Provision versus contingent liability difference. Provision probable and measurable. Recognize. Contingent liability possible not measurable, disclosed in notes only. What is accounting principle justifies, what accounting principle justifies provision? So prudence या conservatism. Now let's come to our flashcards, जिसमें we'll revise the entire thing and at the same time we'll see the expected questions. So what is provision? A charge against profit to cover known liabilities or losses whose amount cannot be determined accurately. Then what is reserve? An appropriation of profit to strengthen financial position or meet future contingencies. Which item is created before calculating profit? Provision. Which item is created after calculating profit? Reserve. हमने याद किया था P, pre से provision, ठीक है, provision, and जो after बच गया pre के बाद after is reserve. Then what is the purpose of creating a provision? To meet unknown liabilities and anticipated losses. What is the purpose of creating a reserve? To strengthen financial stability and meet unknown future losses. Give an example of provision. So provision for doubtful debts. Give one example of reserve, general reserve या capital reserve. Is provision a liability or an appropriation? So it is a liability. Charge against profit. Is reserve a liability or appropriation? Appropriation of profit. Which account is affected while creating a provision? Profit and loss account. कहाँ पे expense side में? Which account is affected while creating a reserve? Profit and loss appropriation account. Is creation of provision mandatory? Yes, as per prudence concept. Is creation of reserve mandatory? No, except statutory reserve. What is the accounting treatment for provision? Profit and loss account debit to profit and loss account. Then what is accounting treatment for reserve? Profit and loss appropriation account debit to reserve account. What are the main types of provision? Provision for doubtful debts, provision for discount on debtors, provision for repairs and renewals, and provision for taxation. What are the main types? What are the main types of reserve? So general reserve, specific reserve, revenue reserve and capital reserve. GSRC. ठीक है, general reserve, specific reserve, revenue reserve and capital reserve. What is general reserve? Reserve created for strengthening the financial position, not for any specific purpose. ठीक है, जनरल नाम से पता चल रहा है, स्पेसिफिक रिजर्व किसी स्पेसिफिक पर्पस के लिए. रिजर्व क्रिएटेड फॉर अ स्पेसिफिक पर्पस. डिबेंचर रिडेम्पशन रिजर्व. ठीक है. देन व्हाट इज revenue reserve? Created out of revenue profits and available for distribution as dividend. Then what is capital reserve? Created from capital profit and not available for dividend distribution. Give two examples of capital profit. Profit on sale of fixed assets, premium on issue of shares or debentures. What is secret reserve? So reserve not shown in balance sheet, created by undervaluing assets or overstating liabilities. What is specific fund? Fund created for a particular purpose. Example, workmen compensation fund, insurance fund. How is provision for doubtful debts calculated? A fixed percentage of sundry debtors at year end. What is the objective of provision for doubtful debts? To provide for possible loss due to non-recovery of debts. Then what is provision for discount on debtors? Provision made for discount expected to be allowed to debtors in the next year. How is provision for discount on debtors calculated? On good debtors after adjusting doubtful debts. Then what is provision for repair and renewals? Created to meet future repair cost of machinery or assets. What is provision for taxation? Amount set aside for payment of income tax or similar obligation. Then can provision be used to pay dividends? No, it cannot be, because they are created to meet liabilities. Can reserve be used to pay dividends? Yes, revenue reserves can be used for dividend distribution. So question can come directly, can reserve be used to pay dividends or not? Then what is difference between reserve and capital reserve? So reserve is created from revenue profit, capital reserve is created from capital profit and not for dividend. What are statutory reserve? So reserves required by law, example reserve under Banking Regulation Act. Which concept supports creation of provision? Prudence, conservatism concept. Which concept supports creation of reserve? Business continuity and prudence concept. What is the effect of provision on profit and loss account? Reduces profit expense side. Then what is the effect of reserve on profit and loss appropriation account? Reduces distributable profit but not total profit. In which section of balance sheet are provisions shown? Liabilities side under current liabilities and provision. In which section of balance sheet are reserves shown? Liabilities side under reserves and surplus. Then can a reserve exist without profit? Generally no, unless created from capital profit. What is general entry for creation of provision for doubtful debts? Profit and loss account and debit to provision for doubtful debts account. What is journal entry for creation of general reserve? Profit and loss appropriation account debit to general reserve account. What is journal entry for using provision for doubtful debts? Provision for doubtful debts account, ये debit to debtors account. Then what is journal entry for using provision for discount on debtors? Provision for discount on debtors account, debit to discount allowed account. Which type of account is provision? Liability account. Then which type of account is reserve? Part of capital या owner's equity. What is accounting treatment if actual bad debts exceed provision? Excess bad debts are charged to profit and loss account. Then again, this is one of the PYQs. Provision for doubtful debt is created for expected loss from uncollectible debtors. So this is it. In the next, we'll start with the next chapter. If you need any other resource, do let me know. And the PDF of this, as I already said, and the other PDFs will be available on the Telegram. The name is EDU AASTRA. So that's it. All the best and thank you.